We are Rogue Media Sports.
That was the open. This is the show. The Cam Show. Starring Cam Stewart as Cam. Starring Zach Burke alongside. Keeping us on the air. And doing other stuff. It's the Colt Brennan Memorial Studio. It's the Rogue Media Sports Network. It is Monday here in the Rogue calendar. Zach, Corey said he liked my show today. That was big. The boss said he liked the show. So we might stay on the air another month. How about that? Thanks to the good people that watch these every day, and mainly because Corey likes the show. Thank you. Please hold your applause till the end. As is becoming a theme with this show, holiday week or not, the Patriots lost. Can you believe it? Can you believe this? And every Monday I come on and I talk about how bad the Patriots are and how it's really just Drake May and that's about it. And, you know, how embarrassing that they would lose to the Tennessee Titans. Like, what pro football teams do that? That would be pretty dumb. You know, losing to the Tennessee Titans. Zach would know nothing about it. He would know nothing about losing to the Tennessee Titans.
They are a team.
Sorry,
I was working on getting something taken care of that consistently plays down to their opponents. And this isn't a new thing. This isn't like, oddly enough, like it's a D'Amico Ryans coach team problem. This has been a problem with this team since their inception in 2001 or 2002 when they played their inaugural season. Is the Texans are constantly notorious.
You should know that.
It's 2002.
It's 2002. You should know.
I say 2000. I mean, like, technically they were around. So
what were you, like 12, 13?
Yeah.
You should know that. Zach,
Fair enough.
Zach.
Fair enough. It was 2002, but it was like the 2001 calendar. You know how it works out. Anyway, it does. Whatever it was, they haven't been able, or they consistently play down to their opponents, and it was a. Yeah, I can't say anything else besides that. The Titans are bad, so they shouldn't have lost that game.
Bad, man.
But
all that to say, all that to say, I come on here every week and talk about how bad the Patriots are outside of Drake May and maybe Christian Gonzalez. Like, you saw it on full display in Miami on Sunday. Full display. The Patriots scored 2 touchdowns in this game. One of them is a 4th and 15 ridiculous off-platform 40-yard throw on the run by Drake May that no quarterback that has played on the team since Tom Brady could complete. Nobody, even with how wide open Austin Hooper was, nobody that the Patriots have had under center since Brady could make that throw. And then the second touchdown is a scoop and score by Christian Gonzalez on a play that they didn't even force the fumble. Like, it was just a bad handoff, and Christian Gonzalez is there for the touchdown. And it just goes to show you that literally that's all they've got. That is all they've got. Drake May and Christian Gonzalez. Because before those 2 touchdowns, I legitimately had the thought, I was like, is this the worst Patriots performance of the 21st century? Which seems dramatic, I know, but when you're only picking from the last 2 years or so, yeah, you could probably throw some of the Cam Newton games in there. But like this felt as mismatched as they've been all season, and they're facing a team that is now 5-6. They're just getting their full complement. Sure, they got Tua back a couple weeks ago. They're starting to fire on all cylinders. But the thing that really frustrates me about this Patriots team is, like, we know they suck, but they are regressing again. Like, you know, we've known for the last couple of weeks that Drake May gives you hope. But the hope within that hope is that the rest of the team starts to kind of come together and things start to go well. And you saw it with that win against Chicago a couple weeks ago, right? Like Drake May had a good game, not a great game. And the defense came up huge and they won 19-3. Last week against the Rams, the week after that win, you played pretty well, other than, you know, some bad coaching mistakes, I thought. And it burns you defensively. So, okay, bit of a step back. Then 2 weeks after that win against Chicago, that galvanizing team win, they just get their doors blown off by Miami. Like, could not stop Miami again whatsoever. I'm old enough to remember a time where the Patriots used to beat the Dolphins. Yeah, it used to happen. They used to beat the Bills too, pretty regularly, actually. And now Tua is 7-0 against the Patriots. And the Patriots have not beaten Miami since Antonio Brown was on the team. The last time they beat them, Antonio Brown scored in that game. It was 43-0 in September of 2019. Right around the time Cedric Benson died. Which is inside. I don't want to call it an inside joke. It's not a joke. It's just that I guessed that pretty perfectly earlier when we were talking about Cedric Benson.
It was just a conversation that was had earlier. Is a better way. Yeah. It's a reference to that. Yeah.
But like I
didn't think it had been that long.
I had said something like he was born like he died like early fall of 2019. And you were like, yeah, September 2019.
Yeah.
September 2019. That was the last time the Patriots beat the Dolphins. And it brings me back to like kind of the stories I had grown up with. And there are certainly people of a certain age who remember this very well. The Orange Bowl curse. In the 85 AFC Championship game, the Patriots won at the Orange Bowl, I think the first time ever, because I think it was a 19-year streak. And the Dolphins came into the league in 67. So, like, they had never won in Miami, and all of a sudden they beat Dan Marino in the AFC Championship game. It was a huge deal. Squish the fish, ends this huge hex at the Orange Bowl. And now I think the Orange Bowl curse is back with a bit of a new twist. The twist being it's in a new stadium, obviously. And the twist within the twist being that the Patriots cannot beat them anywhere. Miami, Foxborough, Paris, Zimbabwe, Mars, Melmac, they cannot beat them literally anywhere you play the game. And Mike McDaniel just has a field day every time they meet. Like they could not stop the Dolphins yesterday. Jalen Waddle goes for like 140 yards receiving, just crushed them. Most of it was in the first half. 8 receptions for 144, 18 a catch and a touchdown. But to make this even worse, let me preface it by this. My dad loves when a guy who used to play for a Boston team then kills a Boston team. He loves saying, boy, wish we could get guys like that. Yesterday was an all-time, boy, wish we could get guys like that. Jonnu Smith, 9 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown against the Patriots, equaling the amount of touchdowns he scored with the Patriots in 2 years with the team. Why can't we get guys like that? This guy was like a healthy scratch with the Patriots at age. I looked it up. He's only 29. He was playing with them at ages 26 and 27. He should have been in his prime when he was playing in New England. And the Patriots, I guess, just had no idea how to use him because he's having a career year. How many times did we hear that on the broadcast yesterday? He is having a career year with the Miami Dolphins. And it really helps when you're playing the Patriots. Tua, 29 of 40, 317, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Like, this dude was debating a few weeks ago whether he would come back to the sport or whether he'd have too much brain damage. And he just threw 4 touchdowns on you like it was nothing. Like, they never even made him uncomfortable. He almost threw a pick in the first half, but his intended receiver for the Patriots was Kyle Duggar. So there was no way a play was going to be made. Boy, Kyle Duggar was a really good-looking player a couple years ago, and one that was a hot commodity, man. I mean, one of the best box safeties in the whole league. And now he's just completely unplayable. Totally unplayable. And that goes across the defensive backs on this team. Outside of Christian Gonzalez, they can't cover. And I still can't believe that Alex Van Pelt didn't know who Marcus Jones was because A, he plays on the team that Alex Van Pelt coaches for. He is the punt returner, setting them up on offense, and he played offense before. I still can't believe that he didn't know who that guy was. But most of all, I can't believe he didn't know who it was because the coaches have to be screaming his name all day in practice and all day on game days because he gets beat every friggin' play. Like someone's got to be mother effing Marcus Jones all up and down the sideline because he sucks. Every team picks on him. And still, not all the coaches on the staff know who he is. Ridiculous. But Doug Kaya had put out during the game, boy, the Patriots really need to have a major need at cornerback. Let's bring that up again. I don't want to misquote Doug Kaya here. Of course, I don't have it in front of me. But he says, looks like cornerback is a major need for the Patriots. And Michael Hurley quote tweeted it and had the same thought that I had. You know what else is a major need for the Patriots? Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, probably another younger tight end in there, edge rusher, left tackle, right tackle, another guard, and linebacker. Plus corners. All of those are needs for the Patriots. Major needs for the Patriots. Outside of quarterback, I can't find a position group on this team that doesn't have major needs. All of them do. And just as I was thinking in this game, where I'm like, man, they need a total roster overhaul. Like if you get the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick, like, do you just draft Travis Hunter? Like, I know you have what's going to be a great shutdown corner anyway. Like, you have a guy that's going to be a great shutdown corner in this league. But Travis Hunter's going to be the best player there. You need help at every position. Why not just take the best player outside of quarterback? And then Vidarian Lowe had 3 false starts in the same half. Like, that's not even technique, which is the other problem he has. Because they're pre-snap penalties. They had 8 penalties on offense in the first half. Only 7 were accepted. Because on the play where it didn't get accepted, Austin Hooper is like lining up in the defensive backfield. He's so fucking far off sides. He's not even close to lining up on the football as a tight end. But they don't call that because Demontre Jacobs gets called for holding on the play. I'm telling you, if you put a traffic cone at right tackle and just put a number 75 jersey over it, that would be an upgrade to what Demontre Jacobs gives you. And I tweeted about him in a fit of rage yesterday, and I didn't even use his name because I don't even want to bother looking up how to spell Demontre because I don't want him to take up that much more time in my life. I don't. He sucks. Michael Jordan sucks. Not that Michael Jordan. Vidarian Lowe sucks. They all suck. And I don't often feel bad for professional athletes because they get paid a lot of money. But I did feel bad for Drake May yesterday. Because again, I say it every week, and it just keeps ringing true. Like, he's just got no shot. They go into a game, and he needs everything to go right, even when he's playing so well and preparing so well from all that it seems. But he just has nothing to work with. Nothing, man. Like, how far can MacGyver make it in the NFL? That's what we got to wonder with this every week. By the way, Vidarian Lowe, someone quote tweeted one of Vidarian Lowe's tweets about his football camp that he does for kids in Illinois, where he's from. And all I could think of was that scene in The Office. Zach, you remember the episode, The Prince Family Paper, where he's supposed to take down this really nice, like, family-run paper company?
Is it him and Dwight go there to talk to him in that? Yeah,
and
yeah.
he can't be cutthroat about it.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in that where there's, like, a little girl who's doing her math homework, and she's asking her grandma who works there and he goes over and he's like, Michael's like, I can do that. And it's like, the 2 here is really small. Don't worry about that. Parentheses, the math equation. Like, he just doesn't know it at all and just gives her some bullshit answer. And he starts walking away, and the grandmother comes over and is like, don't write that. Don't write that. Like, that's how it's got to be for these kids at the Vidarian Low camp, like trying to do pass protection. Someone should be getting in their ear afterwards and be like, don't do that. Don't do that. Actually, don't do that. He sucks. Like, that's the vibes it kept giving me. And what I actually get so worried about with this team, which I'm sure you've had this worry about the Texans before, no shade. But the worry I get about this team is, like, they have got the quarterback.
Yeah.
And the most valuable thing you can have on an NFL roster is a good quarterback on a rookie contract. And they have more cap space than anyone in the league is probably going to have these next 2 off seasons. I have a feeling they're going to fuck it up. I have a real feeling they're going to mess it up. Because who is the GM? Who is the head coach? Who is the offensive and defensive coordinators? I have no clue whether these guys can succeed in the NFL. No clue. If you had Bill Belichick on this team and Josh McDaniels as the OC, I would be a pig in shit right now. I would be in heaven right now. Let McDaniels worry about the quarterback. Bill can do everything else. Great. But instead, you have Gerard Mayo at head coach, Alex Van Pelt as OC, DeMarcus Covington as DC, Elliott Wolf as GM, and I don't know if any of them know what the hell they're doing. No idea. Alex Van Pelt needs to learn the names of everyone on the team first. Like, do you trust these guys to get it right before you've got to pay Drake May? I don't know. The Bears turned around and put together a pretty decent roster for their rookie quarterback, but
still
their coach is going to get fired.
Yeah.
Their OC got fired. There's questions about the GM now. There's questions. And I don't know if I can trust these guys. And it's not like you can't still be a contender once you pay Drake May. Buffalo is showing you that right now. They lost a ton. They got to put up most of their cap space on paying a top 5 quarterback, and they can still win. They could still be competitive. But that value comes in when you don't have to pay the quarterback and you can build the rest of a team. But this team, again, has no position group outside of quarterback that you're confident in at all. Like, this is not just, okay, we can fix this room and get a couple veteran guys in here, these kind of pieces. You need the whole puzzle. You need a complete roster overhaul. This is not a fixer-upper. This is a tear it down and build something else on the land. The great land that you're getting at a cheap price, that's Drake May. You just need to put everything else together. It's a house with one hell of a man cave and a plumbing system, but the rest is total shit. Like, you're falling through the floorboards in this house. Oh, man. So I'm bummed about that. And I'm still, like, I want to root for Gerard Mayo. Like, I want that Patriot way thing to be back. I think he's a good guy. He coached or played under Belichick and coached under Belichick. I want that to be successful. But still, they make brain-dead mistakes week after week after week. It's the same thing I said about the Bruins. With Jim Montgomery, he might be a good coach, but I don't know, because there's a disconnect with him and the GM, and there's a bad roster, which is, again, the same case with the Patriots. It's a bad roster. And I don't know what you can do with this roster, but I do know that you should be able to correct some mistakes from week to week. And your left tackle, your starting lineup on the offensive line that has been together for like 4 or 5 weeks now, which was the problem early in the season. Now it's not. You've got the stability there, or at least continuity. And your left tackle false starts 3 times in the same half. I know I can be hyperbolic. I've never seen that. I have never seen the same tackle get called for a false start 3 times in the same half. Like, that's ridiculous. At some point, the coaching needs to get better. Like, they can't be making the same mistakes every week. You need to put some kind of pressure on Tua. You need to draw up something that can get at least some quick guys in space. But that hasn't happened. And so when asked about this after the game, Gerard Mayo, head coach of your New England Patriots, had a very encouraging answer.
Look, it's always, look, once those guys cross the white lines, there's nothing I can do for them. There's nothing any coach can do for them once they cross the white line. It's my job to continue to prepare not only them, but our coaches to go out here and play better football.
Okay, for context here, the question was, Gerard, you said it starts with you, but when do the players have to start looking at themselves? I mean, you can only do so much. When is it on the players? So it's not as crazy a poll headline as you think, but I'm sick of those kinds of answers. It's like, yeah, sometimes the players do need to look in the mirror, but your roster sucks. Maybe let's get them better prepared, because they weren't ready to play this game. They weren't ready at all, just like they're never ready when they play in Miami, ever. And they got dog walked yesterday. For sure, there's on the players too. But when you've got a shit roster that you've had the whole season long, you're finally get some continuity, you're getting guys back and healthy and playing. I don't want to see 4 false starts in the first half. Like, at some point, that's on coaching. You go for 2 on the second touchdown to keep you in the game, to try to get it to 31-15. I get that, but you used a pretty good looking 2-point play to get you within 16 with like 5 minutes left. It was like 8 minutes left against Miami in a game that you were not going to win. Like, that's coaching stuff. And again, it was coaching stuff last week. Putting Christian Gonzalez on the boundary and keeping him away from the other team's top 2 receivers. Like, that's dumb. That's dumb coaching. But yes, there is only so much the players can do when they're out there. And there's only so much they can do when Marcus Jones is covering Puka Nacua. Or Marcus Jones is covering Jalen Waddle. Scheme it. Scheme something up. Get these guys better prepared, because they were not ready to play in this game. So yeah, there is, like, you gotta, between the white lines is between the white lines, and the players have to be held accountable too. I've said how many times that this roster really, really sucks. And but for Drake May, it would probably be the worst in the league. By the way, I revisited a clip that we had on the show a couple months ago at this point, and it was Gronk on that Fox show, and he was saying, don't play Drake May till Thanksgiving. So if Rob Gronkowski had his druthers, this would be Drake May's debut next week. God, could you imagine how bad that would be? How friggin' awful that would be to watch. Like, it's pretty bad to watch right now, but at least you've got that kid. Literally during this game, they had those commercials where they call in the backups, call in the backup quarterbacks. You seen that one? They do like Colt McCoy's in one, and like, I don't remember the guy who backs up the car because the guy can't get it into the driveway.
Oh, yeah,
so they
yeah,
call
yeah.
in
I've
the
seen
backup
those, yeah.
quarterback. They did one of those for like it's doing taxes, and the backup quarterback was Jacoby Brissett. The whole point of these commercials, like this commercial series, are taking like lifelong, everyone knows, instantly recognizable backup quarterbacks. And Jacoby Brissett is on there. And I'm like, this guy was our opening day starter this year. Like, he was starting games for them last month. And he's in these string of commercials. Like, they probably held that. They probably recorded that in May. And they're like, oh, we can't use that. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. Like, how bad would that be if we had to keep watching that? So thankful that they're not listening to Gronk, obviously, who is a smart football guy. But this would be like, I would have jumped out of a window already if this was the week that Drake May would make his debut. Boy, is it fun to watch this team every week. Catholics punish themselves for 1 hour every Sunday. We do it for 3, watching the Patriots. And a lot of good Irish Catholics watch the Patriots too. So they do it for 4. And we'll pray for you guys. Anyway, Jim Montgomery has a new job. That didn't take long. Also, Juan Soto might have a new workplace before long, maybe even sooner than you think. And why it could be the Red Sox. It's time to start believing in that. That's on the Cam Show next.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
more relaxed. What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that.
Has the general manager changed at all in the draft?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
Jim Montgomery, a head coach in the NHL again. It did not take long at all. It took 5 days after he was fired by the Bruins to get a 5-year contract to coach the St. Louis Blues with assistant coach Claude Julien. Boy, Boston South down there. I was not surprised that he got another job here in the season. I was surprised at how it happened. The Blues make this kind of bombshell announcement that they fired their coach and they're hiring Jim Montgomery effective immediately. And they're going to give him a 5-year deal. We heard last week that the Bruins and Montgomery were talking about an extension and that Monty probably just didn't like it. I mean, it might not even be a money thing, but the Bruins probably don't pay market value for a coach. They haven't really done that. They do now with the players, but not necessarily with the coach. And we heard about it last week too. Sweeney wasn't letting him decide who goes down to Providence or comes up from Providence. So he doesn't do that. Who knows on what kind of say he had in free agency or the draft. I doubt he had probably very little to do with those processes. And he didn't get to pick his own staff. It was the guys that were already there, Jay Leach and Joe Sacco. So that's a big thing with coaches. And now he gets that, I'm sure he gets that free reign in St. Louis, and you give him a 5-year deal. That's, we went from talk stalling out to getting fired on a complacent team to a 5-year deal 5 days after the firing. Should that not sit well with Bruins fans? Well, it certainly seems a little fishy. maybe some tampering, but maybe just more so the fact that Montgomery knew this deal wasn't going to get done. And he went into the season, and you saw how lackadaisical he was when calls were going against him and, hands in the pockets, not doing much. Called out his captain once, sat Pasternak once. But it has to make you question what the commitment was to this team in the last few months of that reign. And to be honest with you, it's tough to blame him from clearly it sounded like a bad relationship between him and the front office and a roster that he didn't want any part of, but it is your job. Like, your job is to coach the Boston Bruins. And it seems like there might have been something in the works there. And now there are rumors that Joe Sacco knew before the season that he could potentially be the head coach some point during the year. Spit and Chicklets reporting that, which we know has been a point of contention, their reports this year with the Bruins and their sources. But would that surprise anyone? Joe Sacco's been here for 10 years. Is the associate head coach. This happened with Bruce Cassidy. Remember, he was coaching the P Bruins, got called up, promoted to the big club as the associate head coach at the beginning of that 16-17 season. And by March of that season, he's coaching the team. Same thing here. And now all of a sudden Montgomery goes and he's got a 5-year contract like that with St. Louis. It does have to make you think. I'm still pulling for the guy, but it's a run now of Bruins coaches being real hot commodities in the coaching free agent markets. We talked about the last 3 coaches being all Jack Adams winners for the Bruins, that being Jim Montgomery in 2023, Bruce Cassidy, and Claude Julien. And none of them have lasted more than 8 days on the open market. They all got jobs within a week in the NHL. Head coaching jobs within a week. That's incredible. That is incredible. And Claude didn't really have the success going back to Montreal. Cassidy, of course, did. He won the cup the next year in Vegas. And we'll see with Montgomery. This kind of commitment means he is going to have his guys. A 5-year deal, he's going to have his coaching staff, his free agents, his draft strategy. Like, they're going to be on the same page there. But it does have to make you wonder, like, what was going on leading into this season, and was this always doomed to fail this season? Was something like this always going to happen? Speaking of the free agents of it all and the hot stove that we are entering into for the baseball season, the Red Sox are the talk of the town, which they're not the talk of the town when the teams are playing games and you have standings and the postseason and all that, but they're the talk of the town now because they are apparently spending big this winter. Obviously, they need to, but I think all of us as Red Sox fans and people monitoring these situations are saying, like, we'll believe it when we see it. Okay? You know, Sam Kennedy talks about spending big and needing to win 90 to 95 games. And that's just a step up from what they were saying of like, hey, we want to put out a competitive baseball team. Like, Red Sox fans are done with that shit. They're done with it. They were done with it last year. And now they do have that luxury. They have got prospects. They've got guys who are going to be hot prospects in AAA this year. They have guys who are prospects who are going to play in the majors this year. It's a great position to be in. And they have some good young players who aren't even ARB eligible yet. They've got pieces here. But the name that everyone's talking about, it doesn't necessarily fill their needs, but would absolutely fill needs, is Juan Soto. Juan Soto has narrowed it down to 4 teams, allegedly. The Yankees, the Mets, the Blue Jays, and your Boston Red Sox. He also wants to make this decision before winter meetings. That's nice and refreshing. That's what we used to get in the MLB hot stove. We have not gotten it the last few years, but he wants to make it before the winter meetings. That's December 9th, folks. That is 2 weeks from today. Those meetings start. In 2 weeks, we could be having a deal with Juan Soto coming to play for the Red Sox. It is going to cost a lot of money. Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of between $550 and $600 million. Zach says more. You think it's going to be more than 600?
I saw somebody said that the Yankees weren't going to be surprised it was in the 700 range.
700's Ohtani, right?
Yeah. I think it was like 45 a year or something.
I love
like that.
Soto. I don't know that you can do it more than Ohtani. $45 million a year, which is what I've seen as well. So this is from a story on Sportsnot. He also claims the Yankee star is aiming for a pact that pays him around $45 million. This is from MLB insider Marino Pepin. Around $45 million annually. So a contract for 13 years at $45 million would be $585. So that makes 13 or 14 years is what you're looking at here. That takes him through age 39. He's going to have some opt-outs early in that contract, like we're starting to see more commonly now. What do you got?
I think year 3 and 4 is what he was aiming for.
For an opt-out?
Yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. I don't know. I'm interested to see with either the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Mets. I guess the Blue Jays too.
Don't even.
But the Blue Jays thing is a weird thing. But these are all like tax hellholes. And so we saw with that Ohtani contract how much of it was backloaded because of the tax implications. I wonder if that'll happen for a place like Massachusetts or New York or, Canada is pretty bad too. How that plays out. But 14 years at $600 million is what you could be seeing for Juan Soto, a guy who's at age 26, just about to be entering into his prime. And he's had some pretty good years already. Some years that guys would kill to have in their prime. Juan Soto has already had. So, he's not the right-handed power hitter. He's not the middle infielder. He's not the starting pitcher. But he is Juan Soto. He is one of the best, most gifted hitters in all of baseball. And you saw it up close and personal in the AL East last year. This feels as real as it has since JD Martinez, I think would be the last one. That was a big free agent that the Red Sox had said, this is the guy we want to go out and get. And they went out and got. Oh, I'm still bummed that the Yankees got Stanton that year, but I think it worked out pretty well for the Red Sox. Although Stanton's still doing pretty good things for the Yankees. JD had some great years and won the World Series with the Red Sox.
Yeah, the Yankees still haven't been able to do that yet.
They've not been able to do that. Can I get a fact check on that? Yankees did not win the World Series.
Oh yeah, 1 second. Nope, Dodgers did.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yankees did not win the World Series. Oh, gotcha. Toronto is the interesting one here. Obviously, this is like the ugly duckling of it. Not that Toronto doesn't have any money, but this you're playing with the Wolves here. And Toronto, the weird reports out of it are like, if they don't get Soto, which is likely, that they might even be shopping Vlad after that, which we've heard a little bit of in the past. But this is like a real boom or bust for Toronto, and it's a big time risk because I don't think so. But that shows that they'll put all the eggs in that.
That's fine. It doesn't make sense to me in that aspect. Not to say that I guess Toronto doesn't warrant interest from free agents, but this is the worst team in the AL East. That's removed from if they don't
not
get
going
Soto,
in the right direction.
Yeah, if they don't get Soto and the plan is to shop Vlad, then that is, I think, the end of that window in Toronto.
Yes.
Because Bichette didn't turn out how you thought, or he's still a solid player, but he's not the all-star you thought he was going to be. The other pieces, other young pieces you thought were going to come together, they haven't.
Kevin Biggio,
so
nothing.
We were just going to be everybody. We were the everybody's kids was going to play on our team, and we were going to win the championship that way. But
I don't think it would be like Creed too.
But does Soto? That's the thing I don't get too. Paying a man $700 million. Well, they're gonna. That's the thing is they're just talking about signing his son whenever he's able to play. But what is a $700 million Juan Soto deal going to do to help out Toronto?
You know what it reeks of, actually? Like, in terms of the timeline, the money, the player they're going after. 2001, Alex Rodriguez going to the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Like, the Rangers were coming off a good stretch. They had been to the playoffs a couple of times, but Juan Gone was gone. Pudge wasn't on the way out or anything, but was gone the next year. You had some guys coming up in the future, but it was kind of far away. Like that was the end of it, and it just didn't work out. And you trade him 2-3 years into the thing.
I
3
think,
years.
I
You got
think
3
that's
years
kind of
to
right
wait.
on the nose. Is
Yes.
Then we have discussions later about Juan Soto's career of, well, hey, remember those 4 years in Toronto where they were the fourth team in the AL East? All right, but he won an MVP one of those years. So, like, what is that going to do?
Oh my gosh, it feels exactly like that. Come to the big boys, Juan. Come to the team that did not make the postseason last year, but can give you a lot of money. Not Toronto. The other team that didn't make the postseason last year and can give you a ton of money. This would be a landmark signing for the Red Sox in terms of like this era, good or bad. I mean, it could completely flop, like that's happened, or they just can't get anything around them. But this Red Sox team, it feels serious, and now they're throwing their hats into all the rings, not just showing interest, but having meetings. They had a meeting with Soto. They're now apparently in on Sasaki.
I saw Corbin Burns.
Yeah, my man Carabas put out this tweet that I think is the perfect encapsulation of it, because he said, "My brain is broken. The Red Sox reports are almost too positive. They want 2 of Corbin Burns, Max Fried, and Blake Snell.
Dude.
They're one of the 4 teams who are actually in on Soto. And then there's Sasaki. I don't know whether to emotionally prepare for a monster offseason or my heart getting torn out."
And maybe it's just me being the typical, minded like this sports fan that I am, but do you ever get the thought of where like everything goes right, that there's no way it can possibly succeed, in a way of like, oh, we got Soto. Oh, we got 2 of those. Yeah, it's so tall that you think to yourself, like, we might not win the division, but we're going to have a, deep playoff run, just to see it all implode because it doesn't work for some reason or another.
There's absolutely that fear. I watched the San Diego Padres. Like that is that not what you're describing?
True,
there?
But
They're not as good as the Dodgers, and this move probably wouldn't make the Red Sox as good as the Yankees. If they made all of those moves, it would. But the Yankees have just been to the World Series. So like, and we see, San Diego's got good teams. They go to the playoffs.
Well, and I think I saw the Yankees, if they don't get Soto, then they want to bring in either Willie Adames or Alex Bregman, and they too are in on Corbin Burns. It's just like, if we don't get Soto, then we're still going to try to get the Yankees. To me, feel like that team that thought they should have done better and then got embarrassed in the World Series and realized, oh, we got to spend as much more money as we can to make sure we get back there then.
I don't know if there's any world that the Red Sox could possibly do that, where they can get Soto and 2 of those 3 guys. I mean, baseball money is like fake money. So you could, there's the luxury tax, which they're finally way under. But the thing that's great about it, which I've talked about plenty of times, I don't want to go into trade scenarios necessarily, but the great thing about it is you can get one of those guys on the pitching staff, you can get a Soto, and you can trade guys without touching your like number 1 prospects and get a top end starting pitcher in here. Because that's what Heim did to your farm system. As much as you want to bag on him now, that's what Heim did to your farm system. Red Sox, Juan Soto. Let's make this happen. Let's make this friggin' happen. I'm in. They've already got me on the line. They have got me on the fishing line. And when he re-signs with the Yankees, I am going to be just in hell. In hell. I will be on my knees in the Walmart when that happens. Pete Souza is next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is Stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. Man. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Like I do clickbait stuff because clickbait needs to be defined. Like we all want clickbait. We want but you to click on the stuff.
Dude, it is such a fine line because
it is a fine line. Don't get me wrong.
When you start to like call for people's jobs, and you know, it's kind of like a shtick in a sense because Drake does a good job. We're talking about Drake Toll and like Locked On podcasts, and you get these fan bases and alumni listening. Drake will be like, fire Neil Brown. Oh, now Neil Brown's hired again. And it's kind of like a joke, but in the same sense, when he's like, fire Andy Roderick. And
that's the BYU AD?
Yeah, the BYU offensive
coordinator. No, it's the Utah AD he wants fired. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to keep up.
Well, no, I think he wants them both out.
But yes. That's what I mean. Like, I'm getting them confused now.
And so Jake Hatch was on the Locked On Cougars, and Jake's like beside himself because Drake is rage baiting Cougar fans, who, by the way, anybody that's done anything BYU, you know it is a rabid fan base. And
numbers, baby.
They become exactly. And they become intoxicated with like, you know, when they're mentioned and big moments, and Drake knows what moves the needle. Let's put it that way. We all do in a sense. And
he's great at it. Like, not to pump his tires even more, but he does his research. He knows just how many. So it's 100 characters in a YouTube title.
Yeah.
And he goes, but they're only seeing the first 80.
Yeah.
Unless they click on it. So you've got to grab them in that 80. And like, you can hide things in the last 20 to make it more realistic. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
he's got this. He knows what to put in there, what time to put it out, when to like latch on to any situation. You know what it's like in local news when something happens nationally and they say localize it.
Yes.
Like a presidential election. Okay, you can't just do a straight election story, but you can go to the local Republicans, local Democrats, you know, see what the rallies are, that kind of thing.
Yes.
That's what it'll do. Like, something happens in the BYU Utah game. How can I put that on the Baylor show?
Yeah.
And link it back and just, it's a science, man.
Yeah.
I'm still not great at it. I'm better than I was, but
well, it's like, how good do you want to become at that too?
Yeah, that's going back to the fine line thing. Like, I don't ever want to like just straight up lie to my audience. I don't want to do that.
You don't want to be disingenuous. Like, here's something. Ryan Russillo, listening to him for years, has a theory or a story or an experience. I can't remember exactly what right now with Skip Bayless, to where Bayless was like super pissed at Russillo because Russillo would come out and be like, and maybe it was on a podcast or a show, or when Russillo was a guest, he just completely took a dump on Bayless and like how he does his job. Skip Bayless will tell you straight face, like, I've never been disingenuous with my audience.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of dumb.
Huh?
I like that's where it's like, it doesn't even feel like a shtick. I think he believes that stuff. He's just delusional.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally,
just crazy.
He is like a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like he will pick a side and go down with the ship, and there's no like gray area, like maybe this, maybe that. Yeah, it's super interesting.
All right, here's my question, Pete.
Yeah.
I've teased this, and we never got to it last week. And you hate ranking things. What is the greatest boxing movie of all time?
Rocky III.
Explain.
Sure.
Gladly.
It has everything.
Okay.
There's really nothing more you can want. I mean, you've got Rocky, who has now come of a, like, he is now legitimately one of the most notable figures, the way they portray it in America. Okay. He's a superstar.
Yeah.
Cover of Time Magazine, Sports Illustrated. He's on the Muppet Show. They go through all this, right? I mean, they do a great job of showing the crossover that Rocky has achieved. You know, he's on the Muppet Show. He's like kid friendly. Everybody loves Rocky, but he's very wealthy. He goes soft. So the table is set there for a great storyline. Mr. T, who at the time was, again, in reality, probably one of the most popular people in America.
Sure.
Hulk Hogan, who was like coming on the scene, who Zach is uncomfortable right now because he hates Hogan.
Thunderlips.
Yeah, Zach hates Hogan. Zach, if Hogan's talking, what's happening?
Lies are coming out of his mouth.
There you go. He's lying. If Hogan's talking, he's lying, according to Zach. So it's got Hulk Hogan, and it's got the most underrated actor, sports actor of all time, which is Carl Weathers. Like, he's still in the mix.
He's in some other ones too.
Yeah, some other Rockies. Yeah, but that movie to me has everything you need, and it has the best post Godfather performance by Talia Shire, the beach scene. It actually, you and I have sat here before and talked about love stories that really don't jive in some of these movies. It absolutely was the perfect love story intertwined into a movie.
Well, I always thought Rocky handled that well. The Rocky saga. I thought the Rocky saga has always handled that well.
Yeah. Well, she's a bit of a wet blanket at times.
Yeah,
it's like,
but
hey, come on, this is enough already.
Right,
In
but it's
this
never
one,
overtaking the story.
Yes, but in this one, she's inspiring him. To win, like, you know, and it's not like don't blah blah blah. She's like, what are you afraid of? It's a great speech and a great conversation. So there's really good acting. It's got all the sizzle, the popcorn. It's got it all.
Because I think boxing has the best movies of sports movies. To the point where I almost put it in a separate category. I don't have any reason to, but I almost do. Like, when people ask what my favorite sports movie is, like, I don't think of the Rocky movies or Raging Bull or anything like that. Because I asked Mosley, and he said right away, boxing movie, Raging Bull.
Let me tell you why I said Raging Bull, because it makes him look smart. And
I mean, Raging Bull's a great movie.
It makes him look like, sure, but it makes you
Pete's
look
like, oh, it's in black and white. It's
no,
stupid.
no. It's just like, of course, right? Raging
No,
Bull.
I
Like,
actually,
oh, okay. You like motion pictures. I get it.
I actually agree with you on this. I think that's exactly why he said that.
Exactly. How can I say something, respond quickly enough, and not look stupid?
Because he knows I'm a snob too.
Yeah.
So let's like he doesn't want to get in the argument that like we would have about snob versus non-snob. Like, he doesn't even want to do that. But it's got to be Raging Bull.
But then you said
I think Rage. Yeah, and so we start talking about it, and then I start talking about the Rocky movies, and like 2 minutes into this, he's like, I didn't even consider the Rocky movies.
Now people
just wanted to change his answer right away.
And some people might say Rocky, the original, which, by the way, won Best
Probably
Picture.
The best of the movies. Mine is Rocky IV, but
Rocky IV is amazing. It's
great, because I love America, baby.
It's tough to debate, but Rocky I, if you rewatch it now, which I have in recent years, it is, and I'm not just saying like motion picture art film slow. It's slow.
Yeah,
the movie is very slow, and it gets dull at times. It just does. And I'm not saying you need something every 20 seconds like John Wick, but
Rocky IV is really good at that. Like, once they get to 4, like, they know we're appealing to a widespread audience.
Yeah.
Like, let's just hammer this down. And
I
it's
was
not like crazy action, but there's something happening all the time.
This shows you how
Rocky 3 is that's kind of that same way too.
Rocky 3 was amazing. It was so amazing. I mean, on the steps of the art museum, when Mr. T is challenging him and telling him that he's going to bang his wife, like,
Yeah,
and
come over,
telling
see
her,
what a real man.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
home.
good stuff.
As a little kid, that's probably the first time I was searching for my pearls to clutch them. I couldn't believe what this Mr. T was doing, this Clubber Lang. When I was honestly, dude, I was in on Rocky V, George Washington Duke. I mean, like I was in that. That was a. I mean, they kind of blew it with the Don King opportunity because the movie sucked so bad. But the guy who played George Washington Duke was really good. I mean, he maybe overacted a little, but he was going for it. And Tommy Morrison, by the way, you got me now. Now you got me. If you want a freaking sad documentary,
I'm watching a good one right now, an old one.
Well, hold on. Watch the 30 for 30 about Tommy Morrison.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it's so sad, but it's so. The guy he was right there, dude. Like to be this amazing star, and his life just took one of those wicked turns. All right, what are you watching now?
Oh, you ever seen Harlan County, USA?
No.
It's a documentary from the 70s, like kind of a groundbreaking documentary about a coal miner strike in Kentucky. It's pretty, like I'm halfway through it. It's good. It's
okay.
An hour and a half, hour 45. So like a feature length.
I love those. That's a lost art. Dude.
And it's like it's like classic 70s, but it's great. There's no narration. It's just taking you through all these things. And I love a documentary that can do that. I got nothing against narration, but I think it's great when you don't have to do that. And it's highlighting, I mean, one of the poorest, dumbest, uneducated parts of America.
Yeah.
Like it's a real, and again, we're talking 1976, actually the year the first Rocky came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, a lot of America didn't know about that. They know that coal miners come out and they get black stuff on their face and, oh, it's a tough living. And that's all they know. And they take you at the beginning of that. They like take you down into the mines. Like they've got the cameras down in the mines. That is a frightening existence. Terrifying.
I've thought about it for like 30
profession.
seconds and then I've had to like stop thinking about it because it's almost like thinking about death.
Well, yeah, like I always knew like coal miner, that's real tough shit. You know what I mean? Like that's not anything you really want to be doing. No different from working in a plant in a lot of ways. But it is a little different. Like you go down there and I'm like, this thing could kill you at any second.
How about
and there's no room to breathe. Like no wonder these guys have black lung. There's no air. Like it's dark the whole day. You're doing it overnight. Like people will get crushed in there, like trapped in there, and they have no rights. That's the whole thing, is they're trying to join a union, the Mine Workers of America, and it's Duke Energy. That's what made me think about it.
Oh, really?
Duke Energy, which is the same one that Duke University is named after,
Duke Power,
because it was Duke Power. Yeah. And Duke Tobacco.
And where was this?
That.
This was in Kentucky?
Kentucky, Harlan County, Kentucky. They go to West Virginia at one point because there was a like horrific accident where like 80 people died in West Virginia, and they're talking to the wives, and the wives are picketing. And again, these are the poorest of the poor. They can't just go on strike easily. And it's like really fascinating motion picture kind of stuff. But what's funny about let's get back to the boxing thing, because I did have one
Bob
more
Huggins. This is like
Go ahead.
Before a West Virginia game one time, he told us that he took his team down to the coal mines. I was like, how did they do down there? He was like, they loved it. Like he was like, but I took them down. I wanted to show them like who the people that are coming to their games, where they're from, what they're about.
That's good.
Took them down to the mines.
That's
pretty
good,
cool.
Bob Huggins, man.
Yeah. Huh?
That is. I wonder how many teams he did that for. I wonder if he did that to Joe Mazzulla.
Maybe that.
I mean, it's got to be safer now. Still not like safe.
But that's the kind of stuff. If you ever
jumping on the belt,
Joe Mazzulla, you could ever be like, "Yo, did Huggy ever take you down to the mines?" And if he did, that's your in. Then you got Joe Mazzulla talking about Bob Huggins,
and like just relating everything to the mines.
Yes,
he would do that. Like we're kind of in the mines right now. But the last thing I had on the boxing movies was, I can't believe, when I really think about it, how high up on the list The Fighter is.
Oh,
I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
That's one of my favorite Boston movies. It's Lowell, which is not Boston, but it's got all those themes. I love the friggin' like the townie actors they bring in for it. It's the last time Wahlberg had a Boston accent, was in that movie. And Bale is fucking great.
Amazing.
As like a strung out, drugged out townie. Like he's perfect. Once proud, right? Like was a prize fighter.
Dude,
he's incredible.
When I was a freshman in college,
the sisters.
I was a freshman in college, and I got sent to the University of Richmond for a semester early because I had to go to summer college because I wasn't smart enough to get into school regularly. So they sent a bunch of athletes to summer college.
Nice.
It was a very good school.
Down the mines. Yeah.
So I remember I watched HBO all the time in my dorm room, and that documentary, Crack on the Streets of Lowell, was on. And I remember becoming so fascinated how this guy had fought Sugar Ray Leonard. And it was amazing.
Knocked him down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they showed, they showed everything in the movie. And the movie did such an amazing job of using that doc to create certain aspects of it, but not overdoing it, not making it corny.
Yeah.
And the women in that movie, that's the best.
So good, man.
Yeah.
So like nailed it. Like so many Boston movies have tried and not done.
Yeah.
Have failed miserably. They friggin' nailed that.
They sure did. And
then it got me into more Mickey Ward stuff. I got to watch that trilogy, man, with Gotti. Whew, man. They do not make fights like that anymore.
No.
Or they're not mainstream anyway.
Not at all. My brother Michael loves
Gotti. That's a good HBO documentary.
Yeah.
On those three fights.
Dude, I never saw it.
All right, you got to watch that. You got to watch that. We've got to wrap this up. Pete Souza, 1:00. The Pete Souza Show on YouTube. We'll be back high noon Eastern tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time, just like every weekday, except for Thursday and Friday this week for obvious reasons. Be sure to like and subscribe and find us on Instagram at The Cam Show. Tell your friends about it. Please, I could use it. It helps. I guess we'll just see you tomorrow then. Use
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to. The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks to us about the NBA draft.
Team is banged
Are
up.
you getting undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
Wrong
of big
podcast, Mick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer, what is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We Rogue Media Sports.